From the Oklahoman newsroom, it's time for a Thunder update. I'm Jenny Carlson here with Thunder beat writer Maddie Lee. Maddie, Thunder back on the court Tuesday night against the Clippers, and we'll talk about how that went last time here in a second. But first, let's talk about something that's changed. Thunder lineup, a little bit of a swap at the power forward spot. Right. Can we expect Jerami Grant and Patrick Patterson to remain swapped for the time being?
Well, so what Billy Donovan has said is that they will leave that as an option for matchups, like depending on what the matchups were. And the first time that they did it against the Celtics seemed like a very clear matchup move. It makes sense to have Jerami Grant in there. He's faster, he can guard pretty much anyone against a very athletic Celtics lineup.
Sure.
But then the last time they stuck with it, and that's, well, you could make a matchup argument, but it also was just working for the two of them. Yeah. And I don't know how much, I don't want to say like, oh, Patrick Patterson is more comfortable with the second team. Like, we're only a few games into the season. Right. It could also just be them finding their rhythm. But you see Patrick Patterson at the end of that Celtics game really getting a shot back, and then that continues into the next game against the Suns. Yeah. And then Jerami Grant also, you know, right before that, he was really having issues with shot selection, taking way too many threes. Yep. He cleans that up, like whether that was because he was with the starters or not, I'm not gonna pretend to know, but now that they're in those roles, it's working really well for them.
Right.
So
don't mess with a good thing.
Exactly, exactly.
Right. Well, I think a lot of people going into the season felt like Patrick Patterson was probably going to be the natural fit there. Because of his ability to move the ball, his ability to shoot from the outside, but he was struggling to shoot, and then you saw Grant really struggling in a lot of ways as well. So it seems like it's working, but matchups you mentioned, and the thing is that matchups, most other teams have better shooting than the Thunder. So are matchups just going to be? I mean, it's probably going to be pretty similar to what we're seeing these last couple games with these two guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you mentioned shooting. The Thunder needs Patrick Patterson to be shooting well, because other than that, Alex Abrines can knock down threes, and then Paul George is obviously a good shooter, but he's streaky, and so you need those two guys, Abrines and Patterson, to really be hitting threes consistently. And right now, Patterson's doing that with the second unit.
Right. Lastly, before we get out of here, as I mentioned, Clippers coming to town on Tuesday for a 7 o'clock start. They've already met, even though we're only a couple weeks into the season, met in LA, and Thunder struggled to start, but then they struggled to finish. And while we've seen this change in the lineup, something that's become almost a trend with this team, something that's very similar game to game, is struggling to finish. What's going on with the finishes with this group?
Oh, I think Billy Donovan wants to push away from the phrase closing out games, but really, I mean, that's what's been happening. Even you see the win with the Suns, they had a sizable lead, and then the Suns cut that down to 7 to finish the game. And so, I mean, you saw it against the Celtics. You were there. They had a 16-point lead at the half, and then it all unravels. Granted, the Celtics helped them out with terrible shooting in the first half, but still, once you have that much of a lead on a good team, you gotta hold on to it. So it just seems to be this constant pattern with them that they're gonna need to buck if they're gonna win more games.
Well, they know what happened with the Clippers last time, so now it's their chance to turn it around quickly. Again, Tuesday night, 7 o'clock start at the Peak, then they'll hit the road later in the week. We'll continue to cover these opening weeks of the Thunder season and see if that lineup change continues and if that struggle to finish continues. We'll see how it goes Tuesday night. Be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.